Good evening and welcome to tonight's special broadcast streamed directly to your Seder table by Netflix. We bring you a story that has withstood the test of time, a tale of liberation, faith and courage. I'm your host, and we're about to journey back 3,500 years to ancient Egypt, where the destiny of a nation was about to unfold. But Seder night demands not only the reminder of times gone by, but also asks some questions and reminds us of oppression and slavery that persists to this very day, and the constant struggles of all oppressed peoples to try and reach for freedom. It all began with a humble Hebrew woman. She was fearing for her son's life amidst Pharaoh's decree to slay all Hebrew male infants. To save her child, and with a really heavy heart, she placed her newborn in a basket and set it afloat on the River Nile. Now here's a Seder question. Who was the mother of Moses? Well, her name was Jocheved, his father was Amram, and they were from the tribe of Levi. Another Seder question. Do you know where the source of the Nile River is? Now, this infant drifted amongst the reeds, hidden from the eyes of Pharaoh's soldiers, and miraculously he was discovered by none other than Pharaoh's own daughter. When she discovered the basket, she was moved by compassion for the crying child and decided to adopt him as her own son, despite knowing that he was a Hebrew. This act of kindness ultimately led to Moses being raised in the splendor of Pharaoh's court. Now here's another Seder question. What was the baby Moses named while growing up in Pharaoh's court? Moses was given the name Moshe, which is of Egyptian origin and means drawn out of the water. This name was given to him by Pharaoh's daughter as a reminder of where he was found. Now, although raised in Pharaoh's palace as an Egyptian prince, destiny had other plans for him. A Seder question. Why did Moses take up the cause of the Jewish slaves? Well, the event that informed Moses that he was an Israelite and not an Egyptian prince occurred when he witnessed an Egyptian taskmaster mistreating an Israelite slave. In a moment of anger and empathy, Moses intervened to defend the Israelite and ended up killing the taskmaster. This act forced Moses to confront his own destiny and allegiances, and led him to realize his true heritage as an Israelite, and prompting him to flee immediately from Egypt to the land of Midian. Seder question. Where is Midian? Well, the land of Midian is in the northwestern region of the Arabian Peninsula, primarily within the boundaries of modern-day Saudi Arabia. It's a desert region known for its rugged terrain and its nomadic lifestyle. Midian is mentioned in the Bible as the place where Moses encountered the burning bush. Seder question. What was special about this burning bush? Well, the bush that was on fire, but it wasn't consumed by the flames. Next question. What did the burning bush tell Moses? The burning bush spoke to Moses and delivered an important message. It commanded Moses to return to Egypt and lead the Israelites out of slavery to the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. 3,500 years ago, there was no GPS or Google Maps, and the flaming bush promised divine assistance, assuring Moses of guidance out of Egypt and miraculous signs to authenticate his mission to free the slaves. On returning to Egypt and growing into adulthood, he continued to develop empathy for his enslaved Israelite kin. Witnessing their suffering ignited a fire within him, a desire to confront Pharaoh and to demand their freedom. Now an activist, he employed various methods to gain permission for the Israelite slaves to be freed. Initially, Moses and his brother approached Pharaoh directly, requesting the release of the Israelites. They appealed to Pharaoh's sense of justice and humanity, asking him to recognize the suffering of the slaves and begging him to let them go. No luck. So, Moses used a miraculous sign. In the presence of Pharaoh, he performed a miracle hoping to demonstrate his special leadership power.
And so Moses returned.
God wants you to let the Israelites go free.
Oh, haven't we already done this? It'll take a miracle before I listen to another word you're saying.
See the power of God, the only true and living God.
Oh! Silence! Nothing but foolish tricks. Besides, watch this. Think twice before you try to trick me again.
I am not trying to trick you. I am warning you. God can perform many miracles.
Ha! That proves nothing. Get out of my sight.
I'll be back.
Despite Pharaoh's persistent refusals and hardened heart, Moses continued. He then confronted Pharaoh by calling on a series of dreadful natural disasters, hoping that with each plague, Pharaoh would change his mind and release the Israelites to freedom. Say the question, what was the first plague? The Nile River turned to blood. This didn't affect Pharaoh. His heart remained hardened, refusing to yield to Moses' pleas, even in the face of 9 increasingly devastating natural disasters. Swarms of frogs descended upon the land, covering every inch with a slimy presence. The once bustling streets became overrun with these amphibious invaders, bringing chaos and disgust in their wake. Yet the horrors didn't end there. Dust turned to lice, infecting man and beast alike with their relentless itching and biting. No corner of Egypt was spared from this insidious plague. Pharaoh still said, "No, I will not let your people go." Then came the flies, a swarm so vast and voracious that it blotted out the sun itself. They descended upon the land like a dark cloud, bringing disease and death in their wake. Pharaoh said no. Even as the people of Egypt struggled to endure these trials, worse was yet to come. Cows and sheep fell dead in the fields, struck down by a mysterious disease that spared none. This was followed by hailstorms accompanied by thunder and fire, and then locusts that devoured the crops and vegetation, bringing famine. Still Pharaoh said no. Then darkness descended upon the land, a palpable darkness that smothered every soul in Egypt. For 3 whole days the sun refused to shine, leaving the land shrouded in an eerie twilight. Still said no. Perhaps most chilling of all was the final plague. What happened? The final disaster that befell the oppressors was a serious and often fatal illness affecting the firstborn, from the lowliest peasant to the throne of Pharaoh himself. No household was spared from this devastating blow. Say the question, how were the firstborn of the Israelites spared the fate of the 10th plague? Well, the Israelites were spared the affliction of the 10th plague by following specific instructions given through Moses. Moses instructed each household to select a lamb with no blemish and sacrifice it. The Israelites were then to take some of the blood from the lamb and put it on the doorposts and lintels of their houses. Additionally, they were instructed to roast the lamb and eat it along with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. The blood on the doorposts served as a sign that the serious illness would pass over those households and spare them from the sickness that would affect all the other firstborn. And hence the event became known as Passover, commemorating how the houses of the Israelites were passed over and spared. After the 10th plague, Pharaoh finally relented, and in complete and utter despair, this autocratic, unelected leader allowed the Israelites at last to leave Egypt. In the chaos, Pharaoh urgently summoned Moses and Aaron and instructed them to take their people to get out of here along with all your possessions. The slaves wasted no time in departing from Egypt. They gathered their belongings and set out across the Red Sea on their journey towards freedom. The Bible recounts that there were about 600,000 men, plus women and children, who left Egypt and set out on the exodus to Canaan. As they embarked on their journey, they carried with them the unleavened bread dough that they prepared in haste, as they really didn't have time to let the bread rise. This is the matzah which we eat today. The departure of the Israelites led them to a 40-year trek through the Sinai desert to eventually reach the land of Canaan. Moses lived to a ripe old age, but he never entered Canaan. This event is commemorated every year as the Jewish festival of Passover, remembering the liberation of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. And to conclude with, what is the symbolism of the Passover Seder and the Haggadah? The Passover Seder is a ceremonial meal held on the first 2 nights of Passover, during which the story of the Exodus from Egypt is retold through specific rituals, symbols, and prayers. It's also a time to remember freedom fighters throughout history. And today, the events of the 7th of October, the hostages still held in Gaza, and all the innocent Palestinians and Israelis caught defenseless in the war with Hamas, the modern-day Pharaoh. The Haggadah is the text that guides the Passover Seder, the evening meal, and it provides the order of the ceremony. It also recounts the Exodus story, which we've just heard, and it includes prayers, blessings, reading, singing, and commentary. But overall, the Passover Seder and the Haggadah serve to connect us with our heritage, the heritage of all the Abrahamic religions, and reinforces the significance of protecting freedom and protecting redemption, and instill a sense of deep gratitude for the blessings of living in a liberal and liberated country. So, that wraps up tonight's special broadcast. We hope you found it insightful and meaningful. And from all of us at Notflix, we suggest you a really happy Passover, an enjoyable meal, and a joyous celebration with your loved ones. Good night.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.